Part 29. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 282. Chapter 282, Changes. Okay, I'll leave tomorrow at noon. If you think about it, come find me. I'll take you away then. If you don't want to go, just write me a reply and I'll find someone else then. He was unable to be available, and the business over there would definitely not be staring at himself. So, he understands Anyang's thoughts? Well, Ans, don't worry, I will think it through. Anyang felt that he had to think it through. After the separation, Ans went home to be with his wife and children. And Anyang returned home. His parents were there, and his master was also there. Even Xiao Yi stayed at home, as if he was waiting for his return. "Brother, you are back." And Wei saw the eldest brother across the creek at the first sight and immediately shouted loudly. Back home, Anyang asked his master directly, "Master, do you really agree to let me go? You know, if you really go to help brother Ans, he will definitely not have much time to read in the early stage." "Well, go ahead, you are still young, you can't stay locked up in the village forever." Mr. Zhang was actually quite disappointed. "Dad, what about you? Do you and Mom think I should go?" After receiving the master's answer, he asked his parents again. Aunt Yang was reluctant to let him go so far away from home, but Jianbei felt that he should go out and exercise. "Go ahead and get some exercise. Brother Ans won't let you suffer by following you. The family is already like this. Is there any better development than this? Of course he is happy that his son can make a difference. Let me think about it again. It was different when he was nostalgic. If it had been before, he would have left without even thinking about it, even if his parents didn't agree. But now, after Ans returned home, he saw his sons preparing things there. He stepped forward and asked, "Are you going to smash the fish?" He hammered the bucket and knew what they were going to do at a glance. "Brother Ans, are you going?" And Liang weighed the weight of the hammer there. "Go, I'll go with you anyway, there's nothing to do." Mixu walked out of the room. "Are you going too?" She looked at Ans and asked with a smile. "That's right, why don't you go and have some fun?" He knew that his wife used to smash fish until Liang and the others became autistic. "I won't go. I have to take out the quilt and dry it in the sun today to remove mold." "That's it, I'll go with them, and I'll take Xiaopeng and the others with me." Ans nodded. "Okay, then you go." Looking at their leaving figures, Mei Shui laughed. Shi Weikan walked out of Mr. Mu's courtyard and saw the beauty smiling, and he unconsciously curled up the corners of his mouth. Just for pure appreciation. Mixu's 5 senses were so keen that she glanced back at him, nodded to him and turned back to the house. Shi Weikan touched his nose and thought, forget it, this sister-in-law is so cold. Life is about peace. In July, An Liang received his university admission notice. It was Kyoto University that he wanted to enter. And Anyang also followed Ans to Shenzhen and started his own life path. It can be said that everyone has found their own way. With the departure of Anyang, Wei now takes Anyang's place here in Mei Shui. I have to say that in 1988, a major event happened in the village. For example, Anyang left, An Liang became the first college student in the village, and Mei got married. The more important thing is that the person who prevented the disaster in Hejia village died. What is a disaster keeper? Each village will have a disaster keeper who can help the village ward off all disasters. To put it simply, the only fool in the village passed away. I am 80 years old this year. His death also shocked the whole village, and the village helped handle his funeral. Every household has people coming, and they also bring things or money. Another one has left. I don't know when the next one will come. Grandma. He looked into the distance and whispered. If Mei Shui hadn't been sitting next to her, she might not have been able to hear her words. "Grandma, why did the villagers pay so much attention to his death? Mei Shui was a little confused. Because he is the salvation of the entire village, grandma, he sighed. As the old saying goes, a fool is not really stupid, but he uses his wisdom to nurture his hometown. Mei Shui still doesn't understand. Hooked his head gently. You don't understand, forget it, give me 100 yuan and a piece of black cloth, I'll go take a look, you and the children should stay away. Meigs really didn't understand these things, but she was still surprised when she heard her grandma's words. It was the first time she saw her grandma being so generous with so many things. Okay, go get it right away. Grandma, he left home with a piece of black cloth and 100 yuan and walked towards the center of the village. The fool lives there. The house is not the best in the village, but the place where he lives is definitely the center of the village. The old men looked at the old lady's back thoughtfully. Time, fate, luck. It's too profound, Mei Shui doesn't understand it, and she's too lazy to understand it. As long as it's not a monster, it's fine. However, it has been several years since I came to this village, and this is the first time I heard of someone passing away. During the days when the old man's death was being dealt with, the whole village was very quiet, and every household basically lit a fire in front of their house. Even the old man and the others burned it with straw. After burning the straw, on the day of the funeral, the eldest man in the village put a red paper on the door of each house with words written on it, but Mei Shui did not recognize it. The words are not words at all, they are more like paintings, but when you look at them seriously, they don't look like paintings either. On the 7th day after the old man left, all the dogs in the village started barking innocently from morning till night. Mei Shui saw Xiaobai standing at the door of her house and calling, and she felt a little hairy on her body. Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng Xiao were detained at home by the old lady and were not allowed to go out. Mei Shui picked up Xiaobai and asked, "What's going on?" Xiao Beizhui kept barking and had no time to reply to his master, which made Mei Shui feel that something was wrong. "Xiaobai, what's going on?" Mei Shui asked Xiaobai with her mind. It was only then that Xiaobai replied in Mei Shui's mind, "Spiritual bodies, no people." Spirit body? Is it a ghost? Looking at the slowly setting sun, Mei Shui frowned. "Didn't you say there are no ghosts in this world?" "Master, I'll tell you later, let me bark for a while first." Xiaobai broke away from his master's arms and continued to run to the door of the courtyard, squatting and calling. Mei Shui walked into the main room and saw her grandma holding her 3 children tightly and watching TV. She was a little confused. "Grandma, what's going on? Why are dogs barking all day?" "Grandma," he glanced at Xiaoxiu and said, "Come and sit." Mei Shui sat down obediently. "You're still young, so it's normal that you don't understand. Today is the first time to stand in the way of the villagers, and it's also the time for him to hold his back. Please give me a vote." End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 283. Chapter 283, The Future of Wineries. At this time, as long as he enters the house of a house, there will be a blocker in the house. If there is a dog in the house, he will keep barking at him to scare him away. It was very supernatural, and Mei Shui felt a little bit hairy. So, there is a ghost. You can't say it's a ghost. He's doing it for the good of the village. He can wait until tomorrow. Grandma, he also heard about it from her elders. This is the first time we've met. This night, Mei Shui was nervous all the time. She was worried about her grandma and the children. That night, the whole family stayed in grandma's room. It wasn't until the first cock crow at dawn the next day that the barking of dogs stopped. Mei Shui opened her eyes, got up from the bed, walked outside the house, picked up Xiaobai. "Can we talk now?" "Master, it's nothing serious. It's just a spirit passing by. As long as you don't let him enter the house, that's fine." "So, there are ghosts?" Mei Shui has never believed in ghosts. "It's not a ghost, It's just his obsession. He was unconscious during his lifetime and knew his past life after his death. He just wanted to see the villagers who prevented disasters by himself. He didn't have any bad intentions. Grandma said he was looking for someone to prevent disaster. Mei Shui felt that what Xiaobai said was different from what Grandma said. No, but he is also a poor person. But you are not a dog. Is it useful to call you a dog? Mei Shui was a little confused. Of course it works, you just need to make a sound to scare him away. Xiaobai rolled his dog eyes. He has no bad intentions, he is really just taking a look, but for dead people, entering the house will bring misfortune, that's all. Forget it, don't ask, will this happen often? Mei Shui felt she had to be on guard. No, it takes 100 or hundreds of years for a village to have a villager. Your village is lucky. With a villager, those things in those days would not involve the people of your village on a large scale. Xiaobai has experienced those days. That's good, as long as there is no such weird thing in the future. She is not afraid of anything, but she is still a little taboo about things that are invisible and intangible. No, there are no ghosts in the world. His spirit body will only appear for a while and then dissipate as the sun rises. Xiaobai screamed all night and was tired. Master, I'm going to go into the space and take a nap. Xiao Hong is still in the back mountain. You can go and see her later. After saying that, Xiaobai disappeared directly into Mei Shui's arms. At dawn, the villagers resumed their usual routine. We were talking and laughing, as if yesterday was just like a dream. No one mentioned it, no one asked about it. Even the old man and the others acted as if it had never happened, as if they had forgotten yesterday. After that, Mei Shui never asked about the old man's death again. A few days later, Ma Liming came back because he had taken a big order and had to come back to ask Mei Shui for her opinion. So, brother-in-law, what are you going to do next? And then you want me to give you some ideas? Mei Shui finally understood after listening. Yes, that one is for a restaurant. They wanted to decorate it differently, and they liked the furniture I bought, but he still knew how much it cost. Also coming with him were Hung Mei and Aunt Zillian. After hearing this, they both looked at Mei Shui nervously. Mei Shui smiled and said, "This is not a big deal. Tell me what kind of style he needs, it's just a small thing. She just has nothing to do these days. In addition, it is just past the Mid-Autumn Festival, so there is really nothing to do at home. The rice in the fields has also been harvested and is now waiting to be dried and put into the warehouse." The restaurant owner said he wanted something new and different. Ma Liming must have understood the matter thoroughly before he came back to ask Mei Shui. After listening, Mei Shui nodded, "Sure, give me a week, and I will give you a picture then, but you can prepare the materials now to avoid being in a hurry later." In any case, they all agreed that he would make the things he drew, and it was no less than these. What she didn't expect was that Ma Liming would receive such a big order in such a short period of time. He also took the people in the village to do it together, which seems to be a grateful person. Hearing that Mei Shui agreed, Aunt Zillian and Hung Mei breathed a sigh of relief. "Xiaoxiu, come to my house for dinner tonight. Auntie will stew chicken for you. You can eat all the chickens at home." Looking at Aunt Zillian's joy, Mei Shui did not refuse her. "Okay, we'll come over tonight." Aunt Zillian was very happy when she heard that Mei Shui agreed. Hung Mei's two children have been very close to Xiaopeng and others recently. After Ma Liming got the answer he wanted, he immediately started to prepare materials and asked for the floor plan of the hotel. Of course, this is the drawing after decoration. Now we just need some tables, chairs, benches, cabinets, and so on. For Mei Shui, it was much more convenient, as she could put in some things she knew according to the plan. In town, and Wen and the others opened the second batch of medicinal wine again. This time, it was not just the old man and the others who were snatching the medicinal wine. There were also some people from Kyoto, which made Wen and Anshan very happy. After taking the order, they immediately rushed back to tell their sister-in-law the good news. Mei Shui looked at their account books and smiled. Yes, it seems that the market has opened up in Kyoto, but the transportation is still very inconvenient. If possible, have you ever thought about opening a factory in Kyoto? It would be great if medicinal wine could become bigger. Anwen was a little excited when he heard that he was going to Kyoto to open a factory. Of course, he thought that now that their wine is mainly sold in Kyoto, the shipping cost is really high, even if it is paid by the customers themselves. But the total price is still higher. I think so, but didn't the old men say that Kyoto was quiet last time, and the old men drank wine during the Mid-Autumn Festival? At that time, they also asked about the wine, and Anwen also told them that the wine was sold well in Kyoto. Well, I'll ask about it later, but there's no rush. If you really have this idea, why not buy the land first, and then we can build the winery ourselves? Mei Shui put forward her own suggestion. This is a good idea. It's true that we bought the winery now, but the base is not ours. When talking about this, Anshin became anxious. At the beginning, I was not deeply involved in the world, and I did not consider many things thoroughly. Now that the foundation is being manipulated, they are helpless. Mei Shui never cared about business matters and let them make their own decisions on everything. She only gave out recipes. Meixue glanced at the two of them and said, "So, you didn't buy the land, but just the factory." She really didn't expect that there was such a thing. No, I was deceived at the time. Speaking of this, not only in Shanhuo, but Anwen also felt very uncomfortable. Then let's go to Kyoto. It just so happens that An Liang is going to Kyoto to go to university. 3 people are better than 2. Forget it, let's go here. But what about the winery here? Anshin asked with some reluctance. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 284. Chapter 284, Arrangement. I sold it, what else can I do? Mei Shui was speechless. You can sell it, but who can you sell it to? Anwen didn't have a good partner. The town was only so big, so if anything happened, it would have been spread. The fact that their factory does not have base rights has almost become a joke among businessmen in the town. Is no one buying it? Mei Shui didn't know much about the town. If no one buys it, just leave it there. Someone will definitely want it in the future. She knew that with the development of the country, people's lives would only change. Getting better and better. Don't be afraid that things won't sell. Thinking of the 3 words of later generations, demolition households, these are not just 3 words. If it really doesn't work, just leave it empty. Is there anyone who can take it away? But the previous boss was also a smart man and didn't sell the base, and these 2 fools didn't even think of doing this. After the 3 of them discussed for a while, Mei Shui returned the account book and money to them. When you have time, go to Kyoto for a walk and see where there is land and buy it anyway, there will be no loss. Well, let's listen to my sister-in-law. The 2 of them nodded firmly and made up their minds to go to Kyoto for development. That night, Mei Shui asked the old men about Anwen and the others' plans to open a winery in Kyoto. After hearing this, the old men looked at each other and saw smiles in their eyes. I will write a letter later and give it to Anwen and the others. We are old, but we still have some connections. Mr. Sun was the first to agree. Mr. Shi is not far behind, there is also me. My son can't help, but I still have 2 capable men. When they arrive in Kyoto, it will be their base camp, so this little thing is no problem. Except for Mr. Zhao, the 5 old men all rushed to write letters to Anwen and the others. Of course Mei Shui couldn't ask for it. Why should she suffer if she can suffer less? That's it, let them leave some more wine for you when the time comes, Mei Shui reported back. This is good. Haha, it would be better if Xiaoxiu could make more pills. Everyone put forward their own ideas. Mei Shui rolled her eyes at them angrily. It's not easy to make pills, but do you have any medicinal materials? It's true. Fortunately, she was prepared early. Mr. Hua, I heard that your grandson is in business. Or is he in medicine? I ask her to make pills every day. It doesn't take much energy. Isn't it good to eat and sleep well at home? Still, the mountains are not fun? Humph, they are beautiful. As soon as Mr. Hua heard his name being called, he immediately became energetic and said, yes, we are doing this business. What, Xiaoxiu has an idea, they are all smart people, who doesn't know something yet? This is not possible, Xiaoxiu, why do you only think of your grandpa Hua about this matter? We are also sitting here. That's right, your grandpa is not old yet and can still move. One by one, they started to fight for each other. They all know how important that prescription is. Even if the medicinal materials are restricted, there are still many people who have the knowledge, so I am not afraid that no one will be able to use them. You go and discuss it yourself. I want a one-time price. I don't want to get involved with them. They are the best proof of how effective the pill is. Now, as long as they return to Kyoto, it will be the biggest advertisement. I'm afraid the superiors will still remember me. However, from the moment Mei Shui planned to sell it, it had nothing to do with her. She is a person who is afraid of trouble. If conditions hadn't allowed it, she would have found an uninhabited place in her previous life and started the retirement mode. At this time, the old men all regretted why there were so few children and grandchildren in the family, and now they couldn't find anyone to come forward. At any rate, Mr. Zhao's face was full of excitement. Except for his eldest grandson, everyone else in his family is engaged in business. If he can pull out a pawn, it must be his son. This night was destined to make several old men unable to sleep peacefully. Even Shi Weiken could not sleep peacefully, thinking only about the prescription. He is also the one who benefited from the prescription. He knows the importance of the prescription better than anyone else. The next day, after the old men discussed it, Zhao Aijun, also known as Uncle Zhao, took Shi Weiken to Kyoto to discuss the prescription with Mr. Hua's grandson. These families all know a lot about pills, especially when they found out that Mei Shui wanted to sell prescriptions. Everyone looked in disbelief. Uncle Zhao personally went to Xiaoxiu to ask her if the old men forced her to sell it. As a result, Uncle Zhao was beaten up by a group of old men. These are not important. Anyway, for Mei Shui, it is getting rid of a trouble and getting a lot of money. That's right, Mei Shui already has a price in mind. If she can't reach it, haha, don't blame her for tampering with it. Xiaobai was shivering as he was held in his master's arms. Of course, Mei Shui also discussed the matter of selling prescriptions with Grandma, and of course Grandma agreed. Someone intentionally or unintentionally said in front of a group of old men that they should not bully their orphans and widowed mothers. Everyone was speechless. Is Hian's living well? Originally, the old men had no intention of cheating Xiaoxiu, and the price would definitely be as Xiaoxiu wanted. Now that the older girl is making trouble like this, they all feel like they have become bad people. Xiao started school and went to the county town. Hians came back to pull goods. This time he brought a lot of chickens, ducks, bamboos, and rats. He told Xiaoxiu that he would leave the county town for half a month, and Anyang found a store over there in Shenzhou. He had to go over and help Anyang for some time, and he was not at ease leaving Xiao in someone else's care every day. No, I want Xiaoxiu and Grandma to take the children to take care of Xiao for a while. Meixiu didn't care. Anyway, there was nothing going on in the fields now, so it would be no problem for her to go. But Grandma was not happy. I won't go. You have to go by yourself. You can take Xiaopeng and the others with you, or you can do it without. What is so good about a county town that can compare with the comfort of a village? Mei Shui didn't want to leave before, but now, grandma doesn't want to leave. When Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng heard that their mother was going to take care of their brother, of course they missed him, but their friends in the village also made them reluctant to let him go. But in the end they liked their mother more, so they went along. Hians followed Xiaoxiu and the children directly out of the village. Grandma he was still a little unaccustomed to it 2 days ago, so Grandma Mu moved directly to his house to eat, drink and live with her. Grandma he gradually got used to it. Xiao Yi is still at home, and Mei Shui asked him to take care of her grandma more when she left. Of course Xiao Yi will take care of the third grandma. In the county town, Mei Shui was warmly welcomed by He Jiao as soon as she returned home. "Let me go quickly, you have to hug your Fang Kai," Mei Shui joked. "Sister-in-law, how could you do this?" He Jiao looked shy. "Ha, did I say something wrong, or do you want to hug someone else?" Mei Shui's bad taste. "Mom, my little brother can walk now." Xiao Peng and the others seem to have discovered a new road, spinning Fang Yu around. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 285. Chapter 285, Being Bullied Again. Mixu looked back and said, "I'm sure she's almost a year old. It's normal for her to be able to walk." No, he was 1 year old in December, and he is only 2 months old now. He Jiao has become much more relaxed since her son can leave. "Yes, there are many who can walk in 10 months. You are comfortable now." Mei Shui walked to the sand and sat down. She was exhausted from carrying so many things. "Sister-in-law, how long do you plan to stay this time?" He Jiao was really bored. "I take care of my children at home every day, and there is no one to talk to." She really wanted to go and play with He Rong, but the two families were too far apart and it was inconvenient. "I don't know, maybe during the Chinese New Year." Mei Shui planned to stay longer this time, since there was nothing going on in the village anyway. "It's been such a long time, it's been a good relationship, haha, I'm not bored anymore." He Jiao sat down next to Mei Shui and said coquettishly as before, "Hey, okay, stop making trouble and come with me to buy vegetables later. There is nothing fresh at home except dry goods." "I have it at home, why don't you go to my house to eat tonight?" He Jiao seemed to realize something after saying this, and immediately changed her words, "Sister-in-law, you can do it? The sister-in-law may not be able to eat the rice she cooks." "Forget it, I'm not going to your house. You bring the things over and I'll cook them at home later. Let's have egg noodles for lunch and then make dinner after taking a rest." Mixu shook her head. It was still inconvenient to go to other people's homes. It was better to stay at her own home. Cooking is a trivial matter. "Sure, I'll get it right away. Move as soon as you say it." Mei Shui made egg noodles for everyone at noon. Hians did not come back because he had to load the goods, so he came back in the evening. They will go to Shenzhen City early tomorrow morning. I have to say that Hians directly let the 5 people who came last time live in the small courtyard before. Since no one lives there, they can live there and help clean up the house. Uncle Zhao and Aunt Jian went to Kyoto, and now the restaurants are not open. So Mei Shui doesn't have to go to Aunt Jian's place, and she just doesn't want to move either. After getting up from a nap, Mei Shui checked the time, prepared her things, and then took Xiao Peng and the others to pick up Xiao from school. She went to cook after Xiao came back from school. By the time Hians and Fang Kai came back, the food would have been on the table. If they had come back a little later, Mei Shui would have let the children eat. "I'm back, go and wash up and come over for dinner." When Mei Shui heard someone coming in, she raised her head and said to Hians, "Well, Fang Kai is back too, just wait for him." Hians felt warm in his heart when he smelled the familiar smell. Good. Fang Kai went home and put away his things and came directly over. No need to think about it, there was no one at home. Eat quickly. A delicious dinner made the 2 grown men unable to resist drinking 2 glasses of wine. Mei Shui was in no mood to pay attention to them. The four children were so noisy that she had a headache. Brother Ans, do you think our electrical appliance store can be expanded? In fact, he is very ambitious. If possible, he would like to visit the county town below. There is no need to expand, but your products are too single. If possible, you and Li Fei can go to the Shenzhen market. There are a lot of new things out there. Hans told what he knew. I have thought about it, it's almost the Chinese New Year and I can't leave for a while. It's just because it's the New Year, so you should take action. Hans rolled his eyes at him angrily. Why are you so stupid? Perhaps after drinking, Hans was also willing to talk to Fang Kai about some things, and the two of them had a great time chatting. It wasn't until about 9 o'clock in the evening that Fang Kai was pulled back by He Jiao. Mei Shui had already put the children to bed, and when she looked at the messy dishes and chopsticks on the living room table, she was not in the mood to clean them up at all. You should go to bed quickly, it's still early. Tomorrow we'll do this thing tomorrow. Hian sat up from the stool and said, Xiaoxiu, I will be gone for most of the month. I will miss you. Under the influence of alcohol, a certain man started to act like a hooligan. Go away, this is the living room. Mei Shui still wanted to show off her face. Also, are you pretending to be drunk? Don't think she doesn't know, he can't even get drunk now. I'm not pretending I'm drunk when I see you or smell your scent in front of you. Man, it's really boring when you talk sweetly. Heh, believe it or not, I will make you really drunk. Mei Shui felt that she was getting more and more dangerous. I don't believe it, daughter-in-law, I miss you so much. You didn't satisfy me last night, plus, I've been away for more than half a month. Are you? Needless to say, this man, Zhao, is in a hurry. Go back to the house. Mei Shui pushed him to get in touch with him. Why are you going back to the house? There are 3 little guys sleeping in the house. I think this place is very good. I was right to listen to you. Look, how wide it is here. After saying that, the whole person came up with oppression. Mei Shui wanted to resist, but it was a pity that women ultimately lost to men in this kind of thing. From light to heavy, from shallow to deep, the two of them experienced the deepest emotional exchange step by step. Until the living room could no longer accommodate the two of them, Hians picked up the person on the sofa, carrying the child closely, and walked into Xiao's room step by step. What happened in the room? Not suitable for children. The next day, Hians woke up early, looked at the person in his arms, and kissed him deeply again. Mei Shui woke up when she was about to suffocate and said, Go away, if you touch me again, you will sleep in a separate bed. She really didn't have the energy to accompany him to his nerves. I won't touch you. It's still early. I'll set an alarm for you. Don't oversleep. Xiao will be late by then. Hian smiled and kissed her cheek. I know, please leave quickly and remember to pack all your outer clothes. Mei Shui rolled her eyes at him angrily. Hians knew that he could not delay any longer, otherwise he would not be able to catch up. My boss is still waiting over there. I'll put the clothes here. You can get up and put them on before going to bed. He was afraid that Xiaopeng and the others would wake up first, and what would they do if they saw his wife's body? He refused this, even if it was his son. Well, leave it there, Mei said without moving. Hians had no choice but to help her put it on, then turned around and left the house. Shortly after Hians left, the person on the bed disappeared. Mei Shui took a good rest in the space and took a bath before coming out of the space. Just in time for the alarm clock to ring. After getting dressed and walking out of the room, Mei Shui smiled when she saw that the living room was tidy. Finally done something humane. She bought a lot of rice noodles yesterday. She will eat rice noodles this morning. She also happens to have some chicken soup she stewed yesterday. At 7:30, Xiao walked out of the room and said, Mom, it smells so good. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 286. Chapter 286, Selling Prescriptions. Get up, come and eat quickly. Are my brother and the others still sleeping? Mei Shui looked at Xiao and asked. Well, my brother and the others are still sleeping. Xiao nodded cutely. Don't mind them. Mom will take you to school later and ask your aunt to come and keep an eye on you anyway. He Jiao got up quite early in the morning. Oh. Xiao is very happy that her mother can send her to school again. Knocking on the door opposite, He Jiao got up as expected. Listen for me, Xiaopeng and the others are still sleeping. I'll go take Xiao to school and I'll be back in a while. Okay, sister-in-law, go ahead, I'll leave the door open. There was still someone at home who wasn't awake. After Mei Shui went downstairs, she locked the door on the third floor. It was an iron door made by the two of them. A big lock with 4 keys. After hearing the sound of the door being locked, He Jiao turned back to make breakfast. Fang Kai hasn't gotten up yet, so she has to make breakfast so that he can go to the store after eating. Arrived at the school gate, Xiao met several of his classmates, each of whom was sent by their parents, including grandparents, parents, and parents. Chen Yu, is this your sister? A little chubby girl came over and asked. It can be seen that there is a lot of curiosity in her eyes. No, she is my mother. Xiao held her mother's hand tightly and said with pride. The little girl was a little embarrassed and said, Good morning, Aunt. With her was her grandmother. She smiled and said to Mei Shui, You are so young. You don't look like a mother with such a big child at all. Whether it was intentional or not, it made Xiao a little nervous anyway. Isn't it the same? I'm a mother of 3 children, maybe I look younger. Mei Shui knew what Xiao was nervous about. Except for the villagers and a few people who know about the incident, no one knows that Xiao is not her biological child. Hearing her words, the old lady smiled a little awkwardly. My Mei, let's go in, we will be late in a while. Mai Xiu looked at their backs and touched Xiao's head. Why are you nervous? You are my son, dear. After saying that, she patted his head hard. Go in, I really don't know why you are so thoughtful and thinking about all kinds of things. If your grades come down, I won't beat you to death with your wife's stick. Mai Xiu does evil things. Chen Yu is a child with a delicate mind. It may not be so obvious in the village because everyone is very gentle to him, but here he is. Because the father is too young, many people say that they are not their father's son. Now his mother comes to see him off, and she doesn't look like her, so he is scared. Oh, can you give me a lighter blow? Xiao said with a smile. What do you think? Mei Shui rolled her eyes at him. Don't forget, your wife and Mrs. Wu are waiting for your test papers every semester. That's the big deal. When Xiao heard this, he no longer had time to feel sad. I know, I will definitely study hard. Go ahead, do you have enough money? She asked, but Mei Shui still took out 5 yuan and gave it to him. Take it, if it's not enough, ask me again. She is not strict with the children about spending, and they don't use much, but the old lady will teach them to save money on weekdays, and she tells him not to waste food. So Xiao is really well taught. Good. Xiao happily took it and said, But mom, the teacher said that I need to buy a book. Can you go and buy it for me? This place is still a bit far away from the place where I can buy books. No, I'll take you there after school. It happened that she had finished reading the comic strips and had to find new ones to read. Looking at her mother's eyes, Xiao understood. Mom, there is a new set of Little People's books in the drawer in my room. If you feel bored, take a look. Mei Shui stared at him. Not bad, sensible, good son. After saying that, Mei Shui kissed Xiao the face. Come in quickly, mom will pick you up after school. After Hian's left, Mei Shui picked up Xiao every day and took care of the children at home. Of course, when I have free time, I will take He Jiao out shopping together. Bought a lot of snacks for the children. Not only do the children like to eat these things, She and he Jiao Jiao also eat them too. As the weather got colder and colder, Mei Shui went to buy new clothes for Xiao and the others. She had a severe headache. Xiao and the others were growing too fast. Just after November, Uncle Zhao and the others came to our door. Seeing their arrival, Mei Shui was not surprised at all. Uncle Zhao and Aunt Jian, you are here, come in quickly. There was another person coming with them. But she didn't recognize the man, so she nodded to him. Xiaopeng and the others saw someone coming. When they saw someone they knew, they immediately called out, Grandpa Zhao, Grandma Qian. Hey, be good, Xiaopeng, Xiao Cheng, be good. Each of them hugged one. After sitting down, Uncle Zhao hugged Xiaopeng and refused to let him go. He said, this is your grandson from Grandpa Hua's family. Just call him Tongfang. Tongfang, please call Xiaoxiu's sister-in-law. Uncle Zhao introduced. Hello. Hua. Tongfang may be a little excited. You know, he has been thinking about the pill for a long time. Now I finally see the real person. Hello. Mei Shui was much colder. But Hua Tongfang didn't care. Sister-in-law, do you really want to sell that recipe? You will lose money. Hua Tongfang, like his father, is a kind-hearted person. Mei Shui nodded, I know, but do you think this prescription can still be used here? Mei Shui did not hide it. On the contrary, it made him a little embarrassed. Actually, some people in Kyoto have begun to pay attention to this pill, because the old man and the others have sent a lot of them home, and the changes in the family have been noticed by others. Hua Tongfang felt a rare sense of embarrassment when he saw the man in front of him, who was only a few years older than himself, being so transparent. Not only is he a medical student, but he is also in the medical business. He is not thin-skinned. He is able to achieve his current achievements at a young age not just because of his family. Sister-in-law, don't worry. We won't let you suffer in terms of price. Hua Tongfang came up with the highest price they had discussed, 20 pills, let's buy out this prescription. Sister-in-law will not be able to do it again in the future. Used. Good feelings belong to good feelings, business is business, one code belongs to one code. Mei Shui was indeed a little shocked when she heard the price. She thought it was only tens of thousands of yuan at most. She glanced at Uncle Zhao and saw him coaxing the children to play, so she smiled and said, okay, but my family doesn't count. Just be a sensible person. She has a better recipe, which you can use without it, but who knows if she will use it in the future. Of course, she is not cheating, and she will definitely not cheat them. Please give me a vote, a recommendation vote, a monthly vote, a reward, and a subscription. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 287. Chapter 287, He and Me I Got Married. Of course it's okay to use it for relatives and friends. Hua Tongfang smiled and nodded, but sister-in-law, you can't use this prescription for profit from now on. We will write it clearly on the document. Okay, I won't open a pharmaceutical factory, so I can't sell it. She didn't plan to sell it either. Does sister-in-law have any other prescriptions? How about we collect them together? Sure enough, a businessman is a businessman. Can Mei Shui be plotted so easily? Now it seems that he has been pretending to be the younger brother from the beginning. It's gone. Even if I still have it, the prescription is useless. It's not as good as this one. I usually use it to give my children baths. Meixiu had no intention of hiding it. She had already revealed the prescription to the old men. After learning that it was a recipe for removing moisture, they lost interest. There are so many such prescriptions that even an experienced Chinese medicine doctor can prepare them. The ones prescribed by Mr. Mu are better than those prescribed by Mei Shui. Of course Hua Tongfang also knew about this. After seeing that he couldn't come up with anything to say, he began to feel cheerful. The documents and everything were prepared in advance, and he also brought over some formalities. Mei Shui looked at it. She couldn't understand it anyway, but it would be enough if she could get money. The worst thing is to buy her own prescription, since she would have sold it in the first place. Money, haha, Mei Shui finally got her own bank book. She was a little speechless and wanted to take out all the money and take it back to Grandma to count. Even if Grandma doesn't like counting money now, she dislikes having too much money and it makes her hands hurt from counting. But she believes in her own space more. It would be better to put it in a bank than in her own space. She is not short of that little interest. But there were a lot of people here, so she had better take it out little by little when she had time. 10,000 a day can be taken out in just 20 days. After sending Hua Tongfang away, Uncle Zhao could not stay for long and had to go to Kyoto to follow up on this matter. Aunt Jian can't live without Uncle Zhao and goes with her. Mei Shui is very happy when she has money. What does she do when she is happy? Of course I will buy it. It's Chinese New Year, so I definitely need to buy a lot of food and drinks for Grandma and the children. Hians was supposed to be back in half a month, but who knew that Shen Shen would be so busy over there that people would die, so he could only stay there to help Hianyang, just in time to have someone come back and bring another cart of goods, and he could come back after all the goods were sold. It's Chinese New Year. After being away for a few months, it can be considered a glorious return to my hometown. And Anwen and the others also bought land in Kyoto with the old man's letter. If they build it, they will really have no money for a while. So I can only come back before the weather gets cold and seal the jar to make wine again. Since Hians hadn't opened it yet, Mei Shui had no choice but to stay here, waiting for Xiao to go on vacation and Hians to come back, and then they could go back together to celebrate the New Year. Sister-in-law, we plan to go back to my parents' home for the New Year this year. When will you go back? I will go back with you. Then Jiao came to the opposite door with her child in her arms. You and Fang Kai are going back to celebrate the New Year? What about your mother-in-law and the others? Mei Shui knew what happened to the Fang family. It's okay, Fang Kai said it. He said his parents agreed. It just so happened that I was homesick too. That's good, Fang Kai's decision is fine. Grandma is not here now, and she is afraid that no one will support Jiao if there is a commotion. If she can do it, she must not beep, otherwise she will lose her taste. Well, he also gave me a TV, a DVD, and a lot of discs at home this year, which made my parents extremely happy. Speaking of those happy things, Jiao became even more coquettish. That thing is so easy to use, Mei Shui felt that Lao Gu knew it, let alone those TVs. She really didn't like them, so she might as well read a little book. Well, it's the only one in the village, and it makes my parents very happy, Jiao said with a sweet smile on her face. Then I have to buy one for Grandma, otherwise she will feel sad. Mei Shui opened her mouth and said to buy it for Grandma. Actually, not many people at home watch TV. Unless Xiao and the others come back, they will watch it and make a fuss. Grandma prefers the radio that Anwen and Li Shuang bought for her. It has sound wherever it is placed. Even if she goes to the kitchen to cook, she can listen. Let alone old men, they have little interest in TV. It would be more comfortable to listen to the news on the radio. I knew you would say that Fang Kai has already prepared it for you, just waiting for you to take it back during the New Year. Jiao smiled. If it weren't for the fear that the third grandma would not accept the things he sent, Fang Kai would have sent them back last time. Okay, thank you for this. Mei Shui was not polite to the family. In December, Hians finally came back, and it happened that Fang Yu was doing business. He was 1 year old, so he was old or young. Fang Kai and Jiao didn't plan to make a big deal, so they invited a few friends and their family to have a meal. Now that Uncle Zhao doesn't open a restaurant anymore, they can't even go to parties well. In the end, we could only book a table at a restaurant not far from the factory. Then I took the food home and felt more comfortable eating and drinking at home. Hians returned, and Xiao also started taking exams. Mei Shui is getting ready to take things home for the new year. Because there were many people in the family and there were too many things to buy, Hians drove a truck out of the convoy. It happened that Fang Kai and the others planned to go back to the village to celebrate the new year, so they took them with them. When Xiang Yang wanted to go, it was a pity that Bao Fang Fang had a big belly and couldn't go even if he wanted to. With Xianjiang's envy, jealousy, and hatred, Hians drove home with his wife and children. After returning to the village, Mei Shui found that there seemed to be something different in the village. But they were given a warm welcome. After moving things home, the set of DVDs and discs given by Fang Kai were loved by the old lady. Of course, her love only lasted for a short time and did not last long. It makes Xiao and Xiaopeng unable to put it down. Everyone is clamoring to play their favorite discs. The disc is a small black box, wrapped in plastic, with words such as Journey to the West and Legend of the Condor Heroes printed on it. As for Sister Lu Sanja, who is an authentic fighter, basically all Fang Kai on the market was sent to her. The old men also saw something new and began to fight with the children. They were a group of people who had no respect for the elderly and care for the young at all. Mei Shui was too lazy to care about them. It was the Chinese New Year, and the house had to be tidied up. Xiao Yi, Aunt Yang, and Uncle Zhenbei's wages had to be paid out. It's the Chinese New Year, so I have to thank others. Oh, I must also mention that he and me I got married in October, but Mei Shui did not go back. Grandma he went there and gave her a piece of cloth as a wedding gift. It was pink, the piece that Mei Shui disliked the most. It can be regarded as a great favor. After seeing this, the smile on Grandma He's face was truer than ever. Unfortunately, Grandma He came back without even eating. She is afraid of diaphragm reaction. After returning to the village, Mei Shui learned about it from her grandma. Please give me a vote, a recommendation vote, a monthly vote, a reward, and a subscription. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 288. Chapter 288, Boss Joe is here. And when Anshan and others also returned to the village to celebrate the new year. After the wine altar was sealed, a few people were left to guard it, while the others went back to celebrate the new year on holiday. Not to mention An Liang, university life is quite stressful and he was unable to come back in the first year. Aunt Mei Lian was still confused about this for several days, but fortunately Lixia and her family were back. Because Lixia and her husband are busy, even if they are busy during the Chinese New Year, they might as well just send their parents-in-law and children back. The parents are very happy about this. It is better than spending the new year alone at home. This year is a good harvest year. People in the village can say that every household has made a lot of money this year. Many people started sending things to the He family on the 26th. Gift whatever you have. Of course, if no one gives you money, giving money will make things worse. Chickens, ducks, eggs, bacon, etc., as well as some wild game from the mountains are available. Grandma He was not polite. She collected something from each family, but not all of them. The people in the village are also in turmoil and want to ask if they can buy more seeds for their parents to plant. Mei Shui has no objection, it mainly depends on Grandma. Grandma He is also generous, of course, but haven't you saved any seeds? Because of Xiaobai's relationship, Mei Shui asked him to improve his seed ability. Even if you save seeds at home, you can only save them 2 or 3 times. After 2 or 3 times, you have to come over and buy something. I learned that there are reserved seeds, but I'm worried that there won't be enough, so I wanted to ask if I could buy more. Grandma He, of course, is not interested, but the seeds are expensive this year, costing 1 yuan per caddy. Everyone has no opinion on this. The price of vegetables has increased, let alone seeds. With Hejia village as the center, these delicious vegetable seeds slowly spread. This puts a lot of pressure on the village chief. Of course, some village chiefs who heard the news came to ask about the situation. The village chief of Hejia village was reluctant to give other villages an advantage. But it's been 2 years, and I can't hide it from him anymore. The rice owner in the town specializes in Hejiakan vegetables, and the business is getting better day by day. He also opened a new restaurant in the town not far below. But I made a lot of money. This doesn't make people jealous, but there are only so many vegetables in Hejiakan. Apart from the supply from Mingcheng, they can be sold to others. And Qianziang seems to have made another big move recently. Last time he told Hians and asked him to reserve the first batch of vegetables and poultry in the village for him next year. Of course that's okay. The Spring Festival of 1989 is here. Every household hangs lanterns and puts up window grills, and the sound of firecrackers spreads throughout the village. The stupid things Cheng did last year were also mentioned by everyone. As a result, Cheng was spanked again by his father. Everyone happily stood aside and laughed while watching him being spanked. Everyone is very heartless. New Year's Eve, the time of reunion. Due to various reasons, the old men were unable to reunite with their families, so they could only celebrate the new year with Grandma He and her family. Grandma He has a good saying, once you get used to it, you can come whenever you like. I don't know why, but the old man has refused to go back to the back mountain courtyard since the weather got cold. On the contrary, many people in the village began to go there to take a bath and wash clothes. In this regard, Grandma He also complained to Mr. Zhang many times, asking why he wanted to drain the wet spring water. Now that she is better, there is no chance for her to open a bath house, and she has lost 2 rooms there. Grandma He was so angry that she just locked a room. Old kid, old kid. Everyone in the village knew what kind of person Aunt He was. Not only were they not angry, but they also told Aunt He from time to time that it was so comfortable to bathe and wash clothes there. Every time Aunt He was so angry that she would scold her before she waved her hands. 89 was probably the year Hians took off. After the new year, Hians took Xiao back to the county town, and an unexpected person came to his door. What Hians didn't expect was that he would actually come looking for him not even 2 years ago. Boss Joe, I didn't expect you to come to me. Boss Joe was angry for a long time because he didn't agree to go to Mingcheng. Later, due to their passing relationship, the two of them had a falling out. Unexpectedly. Oh, I'm old, I can't do it if I don't come. Boss Joe is also a convinced person. He couldn't do what he is doing here even before. And these 3 young people did it. There are no fewer transport vehicles than there were at that time. Seeing such kind Boss Joe, Hians and the other 3 were a little confused. Boss Joe, if you have anything to do, just tell us. We will definitely help if we can. Xiang Yang and Xiao Lai are both old men in this team, and they have some feelings for Boss Joe. Even if everyone is not very happy at first, they can understand it. Boss Joe sighed deeply when he heard their answers. I didn't expect you would help me. He really didn't expect this. We have known each other for so many years. If it hadn't been for you, we wouldn't have embarked on this path. So, Boss Joe, please stop being polite. If we can help, we 3 brothers will never shirk it. Xiang Yang is a straightforward person. That's right, Boss Joe, just tell me. Hians also nodded, agreeing with their statement. I can't continue my business in Mingcheng. There are too many people doing transportation in Mingcheng, and everyone has a certain amount of strength behind them. I don't know how to talk anymore, everyone understands. Unlike here in the county town, it's just their family coming and going, so there's not so much trouble. Someone is robbing your business. Xiao Lai couldn't believe it. He even envied Boss Joe and the others for how much energy they had behind them. Besides, can they help? After asking, Xiaolai looked at He-Ans and Xiang Yang. Both of them understood what Xiaolai meant, but they didn't say anything. It's not that they are robbing business, but they are indeed better than us. They are better than us in every aspect. They don't need to rob at all. Those who do business are smart. Who doesn't want their goods to arrive home safely? Then how does Boss Joe want us to help you? He-Ans said thoughtfully. Your business is getting bigger and bigger now. I heard that Interstate Hotel has named you for transportation. So, my companion and I want to ask you if you plan to take over our transportation station. They can no longer take this road. I have been doing business for so many years, but I didn't expect that I would fail in Mingcheng. I still have so many cars on my hands, and the price will definitely be lowered when selling to others. After thinking about it, he thought of the three of them. The three of them had discussed the matter of developing in Mingcheng recently, but they didn't expect the opportunity to come so quickly. The three of them looked at each other with embarrassed expressions. In the end, He-Ans stood up and said, Boss Joe, it's not that we don't want to help you, but as you know, we don't have a backstage behind us, and we can't win against those people. After saying that, He-Ans sighed. Everybody started voting. Asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes, rewards, and subscriptions. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 289. Chapter 289, Who Deceived Whom? How could Boss Joe not know, but what about his cars? There are more than a dozen vehicles. How is this possible? Aren't you familiar with Interstate Hotel? You don't know their background. This is also the fundamental reason why he came to take care of them. Hearing this, the three people understood. I see. Boss Joe, you really think too much. We were able to get this business because of Ans's wife, because Ans's wife's vegetables were sold to the interstate boss. She transported them with us. There is no need to hide these matters. Xiaolai is the biggest one and comes out to take charge. Besides, we are all doing business, and they are not stupid. If they have business from other places, they would not leave it to us. Otherwise, we would not be responsible for transporting vegetables from here to Mingcheng. Xiaolai's words were very clear. They couldn't help with this matter. Why not make the relationship clear? We are all in business. Would you give the lowest price to others? Boss Joe came here with the intention of selling the car. Why not sell it to those people in Mingcheng? Isn't it just that I'm afraid that I won't be able to sell it at a high price? I came to them just because I didn't want to lose money. To put it bluntly, treat them like fools. Boss Joe, we may really not be able to help with this matter, the three of them finally said with some embarrassment. Boss Joe was depressed. What should we do? We still have so many cars. If we don't change hands, we will lose money every day we open the door. Boss Joe was really about to cry at this time. Unexpectedly, the person he was looking for could not take over his vehicle. Boss Joe, if we are selling cars, we will just buy two, but as you know, we don't have much money. Xiang Yang touched his head in embarrassment. Can I owe it? This is really a shame. If it weren't for the wrong occasion, He-Ans and the others would have almost laughed. Can I owe it? Thanks to him for saying it. This, I can't decide. Boss Joe didn't want to do a business that was owed. Then we really can't help you with this, but it's okay. Your family has a big business, so you don't need more than 100,000 yuan. What is last-minute damage? This is it. Of course, He-Ans also inherited his grandmother's poisonous tongue. Can't you take over Mingcheng's fleet? You know, the profit is several times that of yours in the county. He came from the county town, so of course he knew the price difference. We want to, but as you can see, we just bought a few new cars, and now we can't afford the money at all. Who is afraid of the poor sales? You can borrow it. Boss Joe started to lie. As long as we can sell their cars, it doesn't matter if they are saddled with debt. This won't work. My family won't agree to it. Hians was the first to stand up and object. Boss Joe, you also know that my family is from a rural area and we can't borrow that much money. Xiang Yang was speechless with Xiao Lai. He had a lot of money, but he was still living in poverty here. However, I just got married, my wife is about to give birth, and I really don't have much money. Xiang Yang was not thin-skinned. Don't look at me with such a huge sum of money. Do you think I can take charge of my family? My daughter-in-law used to be the head of the family, let alone now. Boss Joe saw that these three people were not going to be promising. With such little ability, they dared to drive a convoy in the county. Fortunately, he took the car and everything away. 4 people, all of them have a good idea. Let me tell you, Ming Cheng is really 10 times better than the county seat. Boss Joe started his deception plan. The 3 of them seemed to have been deceived by him. The one who nodded was Chin. They were deceived for 3 days, and finally the 3 of them took over the fleet owned by Ming Cheng Boss Joe and his friend for a total price of 100,000 yuan. Of course, it only contained cars and 2 facades. The facade was of course included in the 100,000 yuan, and the 3 of them also used their own houses and other things to go to the bank and borrow 100,000 yuan. Boss Joe helped them with these procedures. Of course, what he didn't know was that someone borrowed the front leg and immediately returned the back leg. They are really not short of this little money. 100,000, you can buy a dozen cars without losing money. This is also the result of Boss Joe and his friends looking down on people, so they sold it to them for 100,000 yuan. After seeing off Boss Joe, the 3 of them laughed in front of Ming Cheng. It's so cool. Even though I don't know who is the fool in his mouth. Stop talking, let me be happy for a while. 3 people are really. Ans, tell me, should we recruit some more people, plus their own cars? It's obviously not enough manpower. That's no problem. I'll go back to the village tomorrow and tell Uncle Shi then it's not a problem to need people. They are all capable people. It's a good relationship, but you don't know it. Xiao Li and the others are really capable, much better than us. Xiao Li was one of the 5 people from before. Brother Xiao now knows how to be a soldier. People like us shouldn't be too popular. Xiang Yang started to make a fuss. That's my wife, not you, you lazy idiot. If it weren't for the fact that your wife is about to give birth, I would have deducted your wages every day. Upon hearing Xiang Yang's words, Xiao Lai became angry. Don't do it. If you deduct my wages, I won't have money to buy milk powder for my children. The 3 of them started to get skinny. There must be someone guarding Ming Cheng here. Whether it is he Ans, Xiang Yang or Xiao Lai, they will definitely not be able to come for a while. But we have bought everything here, so we have to keep the door open. Who do you want to come over and watch? Xiang Yang asked, somewhat undecided. I think we should let Xiao Zhang come over. He is very capable and is familiar with Jianxiang and the others. Xiao Lai expressed his opinion. Ans, what do you think? The 2 looked at Hians and asked. Hians thought for a while. Let Xiao Zhang and Mozi come over and let them look at these cars first. I don't think there is a rush to open the business. We will wait until we have all the people. There are not enough manpower, and business cannot be done even if the door is open, which is not good. This is a good idea, but I don't know how long it will take. Thinking about the lost business, Xiang Yang looked reluctant. It won't be long, it will only last for half a month at most. Then it's done, it's settled. Let's go back. I'll bring Xiao Zhang and Mozi over in 2 days to say hello to Boss Jian, Gu Gong'an. Knowing that neither of them was free, Xiao Lai could only take the matter. Sure, I'll listen to you. I'm okay. After the 3 people discussed it, Hians went back that day and asked Xiao Zhang and Mozi to drive over. Xiang Yang and the others did not return to the county seat until the afternoon of the next day. Such a big thing happened, and they had to go back and discuss it with their family. In order to paralyze Boss Joe, they didn't even have time to communicate with their family. Performing a show is of course not a full set. The three of them had different families and each looked for their own wives, and began to talk about Ming Chinch's fleet of vehicles. It happened that Hians was coming back to buy goods, so he took his people back to the village to stay for 2 days. Everybody started voting. Asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes, rewards, and subscriptions. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 290. Chapter 290, Retirement Holy Land. Mei Shui was a little surprised to see Hian's back, because there was still some time before the goods were shipped. Why are you back today? Mei Shui asked aloud when she saw Hian's taking care of the children at home after returning from the back mountain. I said I miss you, do you believe it? Hian's mouth is getting better and better at speaking. I said I didn't believe it. Mei Shui ignored him lazily. I miss you so much. There was no one else at home except his children, so he dared to say anything. Mei Shui ignored him lazily, but she didn't see her grandma, so she asked, "Where's grandma?" "I'm going to see Grandma Mu, Xiaoxiu, I want to tell you something." Sent the two children to find their wives, Hians told Mei Shui about Boss Joe. After hearing this, Mei Shui was happy. I didn't expect you guys to trick people. Didn't you see it? It turned out to be quite smooth. Why are we trying to trick people? It's obviously Boss Joe's intention. If he didn't have the intention, why would they do this? Those who cheat people will be cheated. But do any of you have enough hands? Mei Shui was speechless, but she expressed concern. Hians shook his head. Of course it's not enough. You don't know that now we are treating each other as two people. This time I am back with Xiao Li, and Xiao Li is now joining the first team. So, you came back to find the old man. Don't think she can't tell. What do you mean by missing her? Shit, it looks like he misses the soldiers in the hands of the old man. Haha, by the way, they are really by the way. The more he got to know Mei Shui, the more Hians became more and more compliant. You, sir, they are in the back mountain, you go. She still had things to do. Won't you come with me? He didn't want to be separated from the child so soon. Mei Shui shook her head. No, I have to help Aunt Yang cook today. Her waist has been uncomfortable for the past 2 days. Aunt Yang may have been too diligent, and her waist has been injured recently. Ah, our Aunt Yang okay? You know, Aunt Yang has returned to Shenzhen City again. It's okay, Grandpa Mu gave her medicine and asked her to rub it every day and she'll be fine. It is convenient to have a doctor nearby. That's good. I'll go find the old man and the others first, and I'll be back with you later. Hians looked around, then stepped forward and hugged his wife and kissed her hard. Let's go. After the kiss, he didn't dare to delay and ran away immediately. Meixu rolled her eyes and said, I think you need to take care of yourself. Hians came back and asked for 15 more people from the old man and the others. Why were there so many? He was afraid that the business would be too good and he would save the trouble of asking for them again later. Hians stayed at home for 2 days and squeezed Mei Shui hard for 2 nights. Leave the village on the morning of the 3rd day. When I left, I was still thinking about when my wife would go to the county town. Mei Shui gave him a very definite reply. It was impossible. The old men became more and more happy when they saw that Hians was getting more and more people here. He can ask them for someone to prove that he is at ease with them. In March, the fruit trees on the back mountain all bloomed. After Grandpa Mu was cured, he studied some of his own prescriptions and new ideas there every day. Especially when it comes to wine. He wants to research a few more kinds of wine, and if Xiaoxiu sells them, she will definitely make a fortune. No, the peach blossoms were blooming just in time, so he started to take an interest in them. After Mei Shui recovered, she saw Mr. Mu sunbathing peach blossoms in the yard. "Grandpa Mu, are you making peach blossom cake? These flowers are great for making cakes." Now Aunt Milian and Aunt Zillian's pastry shop business is getting better and better, and their taste is unique in the town. So when Mei Shui saw this, she thought of the pastries made by Aunt Zillian and the others. "No, Grandma Mu can make that thing if you want to eat it, let Grandma Mu cook it for you." Mr. Mu shook his head, holding a pen in his hand, not knowing what he was writing. Mei Shui stopped disturbing him and went into the house to find Grandma Mu. Grandma Mu had not been sleeping well recently, so Mei Shui made some incense for her. She found this thing from a medical book. She didn't know if it was effective, so she tried it a little bit. The dosage of the medicine is of course also controlled. Just like Xiaobai said, don't let people sleep. However, she still reduced the potency by 7/10. There is still 30% of the medicinal effect left, and I want to see if it has any effect. The prescriptions in the ancient medical books cannot be used by ordinary people, so Mei Shui has to try to adjust the formula every day. Sometimes when she gets upset, she puts the prescription aside and ignores it. Of course, it was simpler, so she just made it with the medicinal materials in the space and kept it just in case. There are a lot of prescriptions in that book, and what Mei Shui likes the most are those maintenance prescriptions. Unfortunately, she doesn't plan to use them yet, and neither does Grandma and the others. There are no prescriptions that no one will try, and sometimes it will be a kind of annoyance to others, but Mei Shui doesn't want to give it to others. Mr. Mu has caused a lot of harm to the peach blossoms in the back mountain. Seeing that Mei Shui left without caring about these flowers, Mr. Mu was secretly happy. The small life in the village is very dull, but very fulfilling, and every household is smiling. On this day, the He family welcomed an unexpected person. "Gu Gong'an, why are you here, Grandma?" He came out of the house and asked in surprise when she saw the people outside. "Hurry, go to the house first and enter the house to Mr. Gu, Grandma." He thanked him from the bottom of her heart. Without him, Xiao might not be able to come to her home. "Hello Grandma He, are you the only one at home today?" Guji asked with a smile. "No, Mei Shui and the others have all gone to the back mountain." "You haven't been there yet?" "I'll take you there in a minute, just in time to go to the back mountain for lunch." Now the group of old men are staying in the back mountain hot spring during the day. It's very humid here in the south, and even though it's March, it's still cool and windy outside. Back mountain, I really haven't been there since it was repaired. He had been there once when he first started repairing it, but at that time he didn't think much of it. "Can you come in quickly and have a cup of hot water? Is it cold, Grandma?" he asked with concern. This is not the first time that he has been cared for so much by Grandma He. She misses her very well. "Well, it's a bit cold, but I can bear it." "Young man, you are in good health. After you drink, I will take you to the back mountain. You will have to eat later." After drinking a cup of hot water in the house, Grandma He came out to get things for the children, otherwise she wouldn't have run out. Just as Guji came over, she quickly took him back to the back mountain. At the back mountain, Guji looked at the vastly changed plains and mountains, his face filled with envy. "Grandma He, when I get old, I will come to your village to build a house for my retirement. Some hot springs are really comfortable. Then you have to hurry up, otherwise you won't be able to grab a good place." Speaking of this, Grandma He's face was full of smiles. "You don't know, those old immortals all have their own plans. If Xiaoxiu and Ans hadn't told the village chief earlier, they would have all bought it." Speaking of this, Grandma He smiled happily. Her laughter could be heard from afar. "That's right, during the Chinese New Year this year, Ans did another big thing, which was to buy a mountain. However, this time the mountains were not only owned by the village, but also by individuals. Those individuals may want to raise the price and not want to sell, but Hyans did not indulge them. Asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes, rewards, support. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 291. Chapter 291, Guji comes again. He won't buy it unless it's for sale, but he also told the village chief privately and asked him to help pay attention to it and notify him as soon as possible if he wanted to sell it. Of course the old men had their thoughts, and Shi Waikan asked him to ask about it when he was there. Shi Waikan received the news that Hyans and the others had reserved it, so the old men became restless. So in demand, Guji really didn't expect it. It's not that they were trying to get the upper hand, but those old guys wanted to take over. Unfortunately, my Xiaoxiu and the others were one step ahead. Speaking of this, Grandma He was as happy as a child. Guji understands that Grandma He likes to quarrel with those old men on weekdays, so she thinks she wins. But no, if Ans and his siblings have bad tastes, they all follow you. Grandma, this is the first time that I have been so insincere in praising someone. Guji touched the sweat on his head and said, Grandma, it's really hot here. He quickly changed the subject. It's hot, haha, winter is good here, but no one can bear it in summer, so Xiaoxiu loves to come and stroll around in summer. This yard of my own is unparalleled. Even the old officials who are officials in the county may not necessarily have as big a yard as their own. It's good for your health to soak in hot springs in summer. She asked herself why she came in summer. Yes, that's what she said. Not only did she say that, but old man Mu also said that, but there are a few other summers here. Because it is a 4-entry courtyard, it takes a while to walk to the back. While walking and chatting, Guji dared to relax after finally listening to the voices. Grandma He was really eloquent. Mixu and the old man did not go to the back, but to Sanjin courtyard. No one lives here on weekdays, but it is wider than the first 2 courtyards. Plus, this is the only place where no springs have been dug. In comparison, it won't be that hot here. Xiaoxiu, Xiaoxiu, look who's here. Grandma He also heard the sound and immediately shouted to the people inside. Mei Shui was helping Grandma Mu cook. She hurriedly ran out of the kitchen after hearing this. You run slower, Grandma Mu called out worriedly. It's okay, Grandma called me. Mei Shui cared most about her grandma. Hearing this, Grandma Mu felt envious. Aunt Yang saw the look in Mrs. Mu's eyes and smiled. That's how Xiaoxiu is. No matter who calls her, she won't be as close as her grandma. As long as the third aunt makes a sound, Xiaoxiu will definitely arrive. No, Xiaoxiu is really filial. That's the only one in the village. Aunt Yang gave a thumbs up. Don't mention it, they are the only ones who get along best in this village. Normally, let alone quarreling, I have never even seen him pull a face. Outside, Mei Shui's hands were still stained with some oil because she was making dumplings today. Grandma, what did you call me for? As soon as she asked, Mei Shui saw someone walking behind her. Grandma, Brother Gu is here. Seeing the person coming, Mei Shui also called out with a smile. Earlier, what was that smiley face? No. Now, Mei Shui has changed herself long ago, and is no longer the cold-hearted Mei Shui. It is Mei Shui, the granddaughter-in-law of the He family. Mei Shui with flesh and blood. Xiaoxiu, what are you doing? Seeing the oil on her hand, Guji asked a little confused. Mei Shui looked at her hands and said, Hey, aren't you making dumplings? I can't do it, so I'm making dumplings everywhere. Mei Shui didn't feel there was anything to be ashamed of. She knows how to eat, but she really doesn't know how to do these small tasks. Then I've come at the right time, Guji said happily. It's okay, I'll just add more later, Grandma, he joked. The old men heard the sound and came out of a room. Hey, aren't you looking after the police? Are you smelling bad? Uncle Shi's mouth is comparable to An Liang's. Now that Unliang is no longer in the village, Grandma he relies on his mouth to think about Unliang on weekdays. No, hello, gentlemen, you are truly blessed here. Guji was envious. If possible, he would like to send the old man at home over. Unfortunately, his family's situation is different, and the old man cannot leave the medicine now. You are really right. We are really blessed here. Whose life is as easy as ours, Mr. Sun, who was walking behind, said to Mr. Shi. Even though I don't have such a good and carefree life at home, the old men following behind walked out one by one and replied with a smile. Guji knows the identities of these old men. Don't ask him why he knows it. He always has his own channels. Then you guys have to stay here forever, Guji said politely, feeling envious in his heart. Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng saw the person coming, but they didn't recognize him. Even if they have seen it before, they are still young and will not remember it. Xiao Peng, Xiao Cheng, come here and call someone. Just call me Uncle Gu. Mei Shui waved to her two sons. When the two of them saw the outsiders, they also put away their playful intentions and became serious. Hello, Uncle Gu, he called politely. Hey, Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng, I haven't seen you for a while. You've grown so tall and strong. Guji stepped forward and weighed the two little guys. The two of them were a little repulsive, but after taking a look at their mother and wife, they stopped moving. They are wearing skins, how can they not be strong? They usually eat a lot, Grandma, he said with disdain. I said this, but I didn't know how to be happy in my heart. There was one more person at noon, and the house became even more lively. After Mr. Zhang, He Jianbei and Xiao Wei arrived, dinner officially started. After lunch, the old man and the others took the children to eat. Grandma he looked at Gujina's posture and thought that he had something to say. So he stayed. Xiaoxiu, Grandma I'm here to ask you for help with something. He didn't expect his small shop to be so profitable. His wife wanted to make it big, so he had no choice but to come with her. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't leave the store, his wife would have followed her. Speak in advance if you can help us, we will definitely help, but, Grandma he took Mei Shui's hand and spoke first. Of course, it's not a big deal. As you know, I collected vegetables from your house and the village and brought them back to Mingcheng to sell. I originally wanted to eat them at home and find something for my wife to do so that she would not be so bored at home. Guji didn't hide it, who would have thought that the business is getting better and better. Now many people are struggling to get even one vegetable. The vegetables grown by people in the village vary a lot, and you also know about my family's relationship, Xiaoxiu. Speaking of this, Guji felt a little embarrassed. Mei Shui didn't understand. Hians told her that the Gu family was from an official family and the people she wanted to meet were all extraordinary. End of this chapter.